You make those first couple videos. They do extremely well for new channels. And for anyone who's not familiar, that's not normal.
No, it's lucky. I want to say it was 100% luck.
There is luck at the beginning, but you capitalized on it. So what did that look like?
It was funny, actually, because the first two videos, obviously, they did insanely well. And I thought, oh my God, I'm the right now. I have everybody wants to see my videos, and I uploaded a third one, and the third one did so terribly. And it was really the first reality check. You got lucky. If you want to carry this on, you have to actually put time and effort into improving. And to be honest, I was quite lazy at the start, but there were certain times where I did see that my videos were still getting decent views. So I thought, if I really go super hard on this, well, let's see what happens then.
Hello everyone, and welcome to another one-on-one conversation with a fellow Destiny 2 content creator. My name is Sax, and today I have the opportunity to chat with a creator that's been on my YouTube subscription feed for many years at this point. If you search the internet for D2 tips, tricks, and guides, it's more than likely you've come across his content. Known for creating sandbox expanding builds, testing the ever-changing meta, and providing thoughtful feedback to Bungie on changes for the game. Llama, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me, Sax.
Yeah, thanks for being here, brother. Feels like a long time coming, and I talked with Court a few episodes back, man. And I don't even know if you remember this, but back when Bungie had the second weekend Sunder Doctrine contest, Sony, there was all that outage stuff. Myself and one of the mods from our community Discord, she helped me create this app, and we called it the Lens Director. Just this app that could kind of help people quickly be able to align things if they didn't know the lore or maybe their spatial awareness, things like that. And that was the whole point of it. It was less about people can't learn how to do it. It was more about we wanted to help them. And at the time I didn't even realize, but it was kind of garbage because it was, I'm reaching out to other creators hey, can I push this in your thing? But dude, you were so gracious. You're yeah, dude, that's cool. Do it. And I'm not even kidding because I did a screen recording after that. It started getting some traction, did a screen recording, posted that on TikTok, woke up, and I posted on Reddit. The next day, it had 100,000 hits on Reddit, and that was the first thing I'd ever posted publicly for D2 stuff. Yeah. So I'm not lying when I say, that's the Sax Plays Games origin story of the channel. Here we're sitting just shy of 11K at this point, man. So I am very thankful for you, not just from that, but just the stuff you've done and the way that you've kind of opened the door for other creators, man. So thank you for being here today. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you. It's a lovely message. Thank you.
Yeah. So for those who don't know you as a creator, just give us a quick rundown, top to bottom. Like I said already, today's about you, man. We're talking about you, your journey. We're going to hit a couple different things about Renegades and stuff. So guys, don't worry about that. But we are going to get into here at the top. What's your journey? How did you start with D2? How did you make that swap from player to creator? And what's that even look like?
Well, I've always played Destiny. I played since I think it was around October of 2014, so it was about 2 months into the launch of the first game, and I'm not sure what it was. I think I'd made some new friends at school, and they were telling me about this game called Destiny, and they needed a Titan for a thing called a raid.
Okay.
What's a Titan?
They sound like good friends.
Yeah, so they motivated me to have a look, and I looked at the trailers. It looked really cool. It took a lot of convincing to get my parents to get me the game, but I managed to convince them, and I played it ever since. I've loved it ever since. I always tell people on my stream, if it wasn't for Destiny, I probably wouldn't be a gamer anymore, genuinely, because I don't really play anything else. Dude, I've got thousands of hours in Destiny, and then other games is maybe maximum 400 in Warframe or something.
That's funny.
Like that. Yeah. So yeah, Destiny all the way through. Played through all of Destiny 1. The only time I've actually taken a break was Curse of Osiris. Okay. And I think I took some off time during Season of the Worthy. I think it was Shadowkeep. I think Season of the Worthy. Okay. But it was around the time of Lightfall when I started my channel, and it was I was just playing the game, and I was farming for conditional finality, or trying to get all of the triumphs that increase your percentage to get it, because I think that was around the time they actually introduced that system, if I remember correctly. And I was just doing Nezarec checkpoints, and I was seeing that like people were farming with Divinity or Nezarec, and for some reason that rubbed me the wrong way. So I decided to like make a video being like, guys, you should use Tractor Cannon instead. Here's why it's so much better. And I didn't really expect anything of it. This was around like May time, and I just posted the video one evening, and I checked it the next day, and it had like 10 views. So I was like, whatever, like as expected. And then I checked it 5 days later. And I looked at my phone, it had like 20,000 views. I was like, oh my God, what happened here? And then I checked it the next day, 40,000, 60 the next, 80, 100. I was like, what the hell is happening here?
Yeah.
So I decided to make a follow-up to that video where it was like how to out DPS your teammates with Tractor Cannon. And that was the video that for quite a long time was the most viewed video on my channel. And it was basically those two videos that kind of blew up initially. It was kind of like you with your website. It's just out of nowhere. Yeah. And I just thought, after those two videos, I'd gained around 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, which is crazy. And I was like, maybe I could do something with this. Maybe I could make it a job. I was in uni at the time, so I was studying computer science at the time anyway. We can get into that later. So I just thought this could be a fun little side thing to do. But as I started making videos more and I started enjoying them more, I was like, I can really maybe turn this into my main thing rather than just as like a side hobby. And I can't really exactly remember the point where that was. Maybe we can talk about that later. I tell people it was an accident because I never went in with the intention of being a creator. It was just with the intention of, I don't know, wanting to tell people to not use div on Nezarec. Yeah. I guess if you look at it if you look at it in a way, it's like, oh yeah, maybe it was always informative, but I don't know.
So when you look at your channel, right? So hearing the origin story, so to speak, what do you feel like that is the niche that you've kind of filled, in this space, right? Because I was talking last week with Toad Smoothie, actually, when him and I were chatting, because he has a very different niche, right? Like he told me, he said, it would be 100%. Like sitting in a cubicle for me if I was making guide content and all that stuff. But brother bought multiple thousands of dollars worth of like motion capture suits because he likes making like animated stuff, and I'm like, that's such a unique niche for him to carve out. Yeah. But man, I'll tell you what, like I really, as I was going through preparing for this, just looking at your channel, right? Like there's a few subcategories of videos, right? You got builds, you have guides, and then you have a large subset of conversational opinion pieces where it's like, hey, this is where I think Bungie can do better. In this, but it all seems to be driving to the point of just like informing the community. Do you resonate with that, or is there something I'm missing on what your goal for the channel is?
I think I guess I always like to, I don't know, like just tell people how to do things or guide people how to do things better. Because the most fun part for Destiny about me is the endgame. I'm very excited for the dungeon on Friday. Or Saturday, sorry. And just I like playing at that higher level of the game, and getting to bring along like my friends or people in the community to play that stuff is like really cool, because in my opinion that's the best part of Destiny. So if they get to experience it, that's cool. So I think initially when I started the channel, I was actually more like endgame player focused, less than sort of the overall community, I suppose. I had a series where I called it the Raid Mastery series, where I did like a bunch of guides on the raids, but it was assuming you already knew how to do them, but it just gave you like extra tips about like how to make an encounter faster, for example, like certain routes for things that speed up, stuff like that. So it was like sort of, you've already got the basics, here's how to improve even more. But yeah, I don't know, I guess I just like making informative content quite a lot. So
that's awesome. So that is not your cubicle, so to speak, using
Toad's it's very much reference. But I do like to like break out of it from time to time, like you said, with the like opinion pieces and stuff like that, because that especially, I think those are some of my favorite videos to make, is like when I can actually not do a build, challenge myself a little bit, like with the Portal video, for example, or like I really like doing these older ones where it's like taking the exotics that are missing from Destiny 1 and porting them into Destiny 2, and like how I would reimagine them. I love doing that because it's just like a very creative exercise. So those are some of my favorite videos that I've made.
Yeah, and I feel like and I want to talk about it, but I feel like you set yourself up for success with that in the future, just because of the team that you're kind of accumulating and the people that.
Yes,
you're
well, you've seen with the Portal video with Court being able to flex his skills.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's cool. And
that's such a blessing.
Yeah, I know.
That's got to be awesome, man.
I know, genuinely, it's great to have him. I wasn't expecting it because he came to me with the offer, and I was like, oh, wow, this it could actually be something great, and so far it has been that. So
yeah. And if you guys want to hear more about that, I have a nearly 2-hour yap session with Court, and we break all of that down. So it's really cool, like that. I like that we're able to do this, that we're able to get both sides of it. So you talked about that. At least some of the content being more focused, or I don't know if that was early on, or if you say, hey, okay, these videos are more pointed at in-game players. Where do you view your audience at this point? Do you view the content you're making for I want this build to be wide-reaching to that new light all the way up, or is there a certain place that you kind of, when you're making that build, you have it in mind? What experience level are you looking at?
To be honest, I haven't actually thought about that quite a lot, but I think it's probably your average player more than anything. Okay. It's definitely not your end game pro. I don't know how I could say it. People like my raid team, for example, they don't need to watch my videos about the builds that I'm making.
Yep.
I mean, they could if they wanted to get a fun play style, I suppose, but it's definitely, for people more average, I suppose. But I don't really want to generalize it. I kind of just make content not for a specific subset of people. It's just because it's just cool to me, and I want to put it out there. That's the main idea. Especially with the builds, just having a lot of fun with the new sandbox, discovering new things. I'm I can turn this cool interaction into perhaps something really fun. I've been running around with the new storm trance changes and storm dance's brace. That's been really fun. So just doing that.
That was shocking. I watched your damage breakdown on all the supers and stuff, and I was shocked. I was like, I wonder how many times he ran that to double check, because myself, I would have been did I reset? I would have had to watch back. If I reset the scoreboard, I would have thought.
But no, those videos I do really like doing. I enjoy doing just finding out information about super specifically. I don't know what it is about. It's just fun for me. But
yeah. How has being in the firing range been for you on that stuff? Do you miss and long for the days of Grasp of Avarice, or are you no, I'm done with that?
I thought about it because when I was planning my videos for the launch of Renegades, I thought, should I go to Greg or should I go to the firing range, keep with tradition, or move with the times? I decided with the firing range just because it's just a lot easier to test, and it's very convenient as well. Well, obviously now it wouldn't be of a huge issue, but in the past, if I was doing or maybe not a super test, but if I was doing a damage test, I'd have to farm my Transcendence before going to damage. That might require a wipe, and if I mess it up, you have to do it 2 more times.
Yep.
With the firing range, I could just interact with the rally flag, and I have my Transcendence all good there.
The new orb shower.
Yeah, that's brilliant. that was unironically one of the things I was most excited about with Renegades, was the orb shower in
it's so funny, dude.
The firing range. It's great. It fixes so many things.
I didn't know it was there until I saw your video, and you walk over and you just look up, and all of a sudden you see this little arm hanging out and just boop.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Perfect. It's perfect for testing. But yeah, no, probably won't be going back to Greg, unfortunately. It's too convenient to use the firing range. Gets the same point across as well.
You know what would be awesome? I know this would never happen, but it would be awesome if we got one day we loaded in, it was just set up a green screen type area, and then you could click one button and it would just shift what was in the background, just an aesthetic thing.
Oh, that would be great for thumbnails or just grabbing any cool pictures or anything.
Sure. Yeah. Didn't they recently do? I think they did something like that in Call of Duty or something. There was a specific map where it's just green screen. You go in there, you can see the gun.
I did see that. I did see that COD has that, which is one of the few positives of COD these days.
Yeah. I'm not in that world, but I even get the negativity seeping out of that. So we'll dodge that today. So let me ask you this. So you just brought up with the thumbnail type of thing. So let's talk a little more about the creator side of it. So you make those first couple of videos. They do extremely well for new channels. And for anyone who's not familiar, that's not normal. Usually,
No, it's lucky. I want to say it is. It was 100% luck. 100%.
Yeah, that's not a normal thing. And for anyone who's out there actually making videos, it can typically take a long time for YouTube to understand who you are as a creator, the value you provide, and just the audience you're trying to reach. Now, recently, I've seen on YouTube, on my main feed, like a lot of smaller creators popping up. So I do think that YouTube is trying to push and allow that. And also the new hype feature on YouTube has provided a method or an avenue for smaller creators to be found. But I do think that I just want to get out there that, like, if your first video doesn't hit like 80, 90, 100,000 views, like, do not be discouraged, because that is not a normal thing.
No, exactly.
So you take that momentum though, and that's the thing. You say there is luck at the beginning, but luck diminishes, right? Like, you capitalized on it. So what did that look like, turning that and actually saying, okay, I'm at uni right now, I'm doing this computer science thing, and now we're here, and that's not where you're at. So
yeah, I don't know. I just thought I could make. It was funny actually, because the first 2 videos, obviously they did insanely well, and I thought, oh my god, I'm the shit right now. I have all this, like, everybody wants to see my videos, and I uploaded a third one, and the third one did so terribly, and it was really the first, like, reality check of, like, this is how this is going to work. You got lucky. If you want to carry this on, you have to, like, actually put time and effort into improving. And to be honest, I was quite lazy at the start. I was just, like, uploading once every, I don't know, week, 2 weeks. I wasn't uploading terribly often, but I did improve that over time. And I don't know, I just kept on making videos that to be honest, I don't remember much from those early days, because it was more like a fun thing to do on the side and just see, like, if any video got any traction. But there were certain times where I did see that, like, my videos were still getting decent views and still getting decent attention. So I thought, if I really go super hard on this, well, let's see what happens then. There came a point where I was like, maybe I can, if I drop out of uni and focus all my time on this, perhaps I can really go places with it. I started the channel in May, I started uploading in May, and it was around September, this was in 2023, when I was due to go back to university for my 3rd year of computer science, which in the UK is your last year.
Okay.
So for a bachelor's degree. So I was like 1 year away from finishing, and I passed 1st and 2nd year fine. And I was like really stuck. I was like, I gotta, do I finish this, but then I have no time for YouTube, or do I go for YouTube and take a big risk? And actually that is what I ended up doing. Looking back, so if somebody asked me whether that was a good decision or not, I'd probably say, like, very risky, of course, very, very,
Sure,
very
sure.
risky. But it ended up working out, at least I think it has. And yeah, so at that time, it was around September of 23, and I had about 10,000 subscribers. So I thought, these are good enough receipts. If I go from here onwards, should be okay. And yeah, that's kind of it. That was the decision making. It was like 6 months in the making.
So what role in your content journey has streaming played? Because I want to talk about some of the stuff you've done on stream here in a little bit, but yes. What has that played? Because I'll just speaking for myself here, because honestly, a lot of these questions, guys, are just coming from me. I'm just like, like you just said, you were at the 10,000 mark when you made that kind of inflection point. That's where I'm at right now. So I'm interested kind of to know what that looks like, because when I stream, I enjoy streaming, but that's not necessarily what I set out to do when I started the channel, if that makes sense. And it doesn't sound that's exactly what you did, but I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Well, no, actually, yeah, because for the longest time, I always considered myself a YouTuber first rather than a streamer.
Okay.
And that actually has changed this year, because I always put more effort into YouTube over streaming. I did stream in my first couple of years, but it wasn't to like a massive audience, and I didn't do it nearly as frequently as I do now. It was maybe once or twice a week, every other week. So it wasn't consistent at all. And if you want to grow on Twitch, you need to be consistent. So it wasn't really useful. I suppose it was just like me trying it.
Sure.
And I didn't actually reveal my face for the longest time either.
Oh really?
I was faceless until Into the Light around May time. So it was, I guess a year. I went a year without showing my face.
Okay.
And I always thought that if I wanted to take streaming seriously, I needed to show my face, and I wasn't like 100% ready for it. Obviously, not to say that anybody who doesn't show their face isn't serious. There are plenty of people who are faceless streamers, but it was just my personal judgment. I always thought I needed to show my face. So yeah, I never really took streaming as like seriously as I took YouTube in that first year. YouTube was definitely my main focus, and over time I've started to realize that I really should be doing both. And this year was the first year where I did go into streaming a lot more, and that was around I think it was around May or April time this year when I started with the Solo Witness Challenge, and since then I've just been going up and up with the stream, which has been really fun. Like now I consider myself not just a YouTuber but a streamer as well, which is something that I'm honestly pretty proud to call myself. So
that's awesome. Yeah, man. It's such a interesting journey because I will have people ask me, they'll come on and say like, "Are you a streamer?" I'm like, I stream. And to be honest, I've actually seen quite a bit of traction recently, which has been cool. And some of that has to do with the game coming back and people doing, but it's consistency, man. And that's something that I would say that you're very good about. At this point, I don't know. It sounds like early on you were like, it might be a week and a half, something like that before I put out. How has finding consistency been? Because I'm assuming you had to find that consistency before you had people around like Court and other people to help you. I mean, long before you were being consistent with that. What was that journey like?
Over time, I got a lot better with YouTube. So I think being a more consistent YouTube poster definitely made me better at it. I was still pretty bad at it with streaming because the way that it used to work with me, because obviously I have Court, I have an editor now, and I have thumbnail artists. So a lot of the creation side of videos that I do is I write the script and I gather the footage. The rest is brilliantly handled for me, which is very much a blessing. But I did everything back in the day except the thumbnail. I've never, out of the 500 videos that I've posted to my channel, maybe 13 of them I've made the thumbnail myself. So
dude, I hate it so much. I hate making thumbnails so much. I literally have used Llama's exact same thumbnail artist because he's so good at what he does and he does it so fast and it's so impressive. But like, shout out to Frezzy. I cannot, like, I'm okay with some things, but like, I receive something back and I'm like, okay, you did this in 20 minutes and this looks absolutely insane compared to anything I could have come up with in 2 hours.
Like if you pull up my first few videos I posted, it was literally just a white background with like 2 icons on it. And that was the best I wanted to do. I'm not gifted at Photoshop whatsoever. Premiere I can do a little bit of since I edited the majority of my videos for about a year. Or a bit longer, so editing I'm not terrible at. But yeah, back in the day, my motivation for streaming was low because I would spend the majority of the day doing all of the tasks that are now handled for me while I stream. So I would wake up, I would write a script, and I would get the footage, and then I wouldn't stop there. I'd have to edit the video as well, and that would normally take, a good chunk of the day, not the whole day, but when I would finish and I get the video posted, it would be like, I don't know, let's say 7 p.m. I wouldn't want to go live because I was tired and I was like, I don't think I have the energy for this. And that was kind of the main thing that demotivated me from streaming. But at some point I knew that I kind of had to push past that, and I did. And it did end up working out. I did stream more when the final shape came out. Because I kind of, I knew that the final shape was going to be a banger. Like, I think it's maybe a bit too crazy to say that I knew it wouldn't fail, but with how well the final shape did, it's hit almost the same like Lightfall player count peak, whatever. So there was definitely like so much attention on the game, and I thought to myself, there's going to be so much attention on the game. Let me try and go at least a little bit better with streaming, and keep the same pace with the YouTube, which I did do. But didn't notice anything like too crazy in that year. There were some times where I had some like good streams, but actually towards the end of the year of the final shape, during episode Revenant, is when I actually burned out pretty hard from both the game and content creation, so two at the same time. And perhaps we can talk about this now. We can talk about it later. But that's one of the ways that I dealt with that was going on a big break. I took a 1 month away from streaming or just content creation and Destiny in general.
Yep.
So, and that was brilliant. That was exactly what I needed.
Really?
Which,
that's awesome.
Yeah, because I remember telling one of my old friends who actually used to work for me, his name is Jude. I remember telling him vividly, like a year prior, like, oh, I'll never get burned out. I'll just work through it. And then I had like the most severe case of burnout ever. And I was like, oh my God, his face. Yeah, taking a break was exactly that solution. I think that was just a learning experience. So like, especially now, if I feel like I'm going a bit too crazy with certain things, I will give myself like an extra day or something to just chill out, cool down.
Yeah.
That's one thing I've learned. But anyway, moving into the new year, again, I was kind of picking myself back up again after I came back for episode Heresy. So actually, my break concluded when Heresy came out.
Okay.
And fortunately, Heresy was a well-received DLC, and the videos are doing well again. And with the me feeling good about content creation again, I thought I'd give streaming another real good crack. And that's when I decided to go for the Solo Witness Challenge, which I had always been interested in. I always thought it was super cool, like seeing it done in the final shape. Obviously, Bog did it first, and it was so awesome to see his reaction. I'm just weirdly attached to Salvation's Edge. It was it is my favorite raid.
Okay.
I don't know, I think the reason it is because, little segue, my day one clear of Salvation's Edge lasted 47 hours and 55 minutes. We were 5 minutes away from losing the clear. And my team, we had been on the Witness for 8 hours. We had been on the Verity for like 16. We didn't all do it in one sitting. We had gone to sleep. But when we'd come back on the second day, we'd cleared Verity in about 3 hours, and then we had around 8 hours left to do Witness. So we started, cracking at it, and it was not going well. And when it came to that final attempt, we'd just come off the back of like a final stand wipe where we didn't have enough tokens in like the third phase to have everybody alive, so everything was not going well. But then in this final attempt, everybody just locked in. It was just like the most insane lock-in moment ever. Nobody died in our actual clear attempt, which is crazy. It was a flawless attempt, and yes, we did it 5 minutes before, and I've never screamed so hard in my life. I was like, thank God we've got this, because playing Excision after and like going through all the cutscenes and everything was seriously one of the most like, oh my God, this is amazing, this is beautiful moments, like euphoric moments in just the whole Destiny, my time playing Destiny. And I just sometimes think to myself like how depressed I would have been if I hadn't done the contest raid beforehand, because I've done every contest raid since Deepstone Crypt, and I didn't want to break the streak. And anyway, that is the main reason why I love Salvation's Edge so much, because of that sort of buzzer beater win. So yeah, Solo Witness. I always had a fascination with Salvation's Edge. We can go back to that.
I do want to talk about that, but let me set it up for everyone. So guys,
yeah, of course.
Back in it was in April, because I know I looked up
March and April.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out, but I looked up when your video went out, like when you posted the video of your clear. That was April 24th. It's my sister's birthday, so that's why I remember it so clearly.
Nice.
And so when I looked it up, I remember very vividly, because I was super early in making my own content, right? Like that was after the Sunder Doctrine stuff. That was the same season, very, very early. And then I just remember like you were streaming around like my perfect like lunchtime at work at the time. So like I'd just be there sitting and just watching, man. And little by little, you were just chiseling away at this thing. It's so intriguing to me to kind of watch people process the way you would stream certain days, and then you come back the next day and you're like, all right, we're not even starting attempts right now, like we're getting people in here so I can just practice this one portion. And how you set that up, I don't even know how to talk about it. I just want I don't know, it's such a all-encompassing thing. But take us through that. Where was your mindset like early on? Was it harder than you thought it was going to be? Let's talk about it for a little bit.
Yes, it was definitely harder than I thought. I was expecting to be in and out is the wrong way to say it, but
Sure.
it took me, I think, 134 hours or 137 in total, about
Yep.
across 3 weeks. So yeah, I don't know. I like I said, I love the raid and I love the challenge, and I wanted to do it myself in Echoes, but I was too late because I was ready to go, and then I'd made all my loadouts on Monday night, and then on Tuesday they nerfed Still Hunt by 33%, and then made it
Right.
stop working with
Yeah.
Sniper's Meditation. So I was like, well, I guess that's that. Episode Revenant rolls around, and there's some really cool artifact combos. You've got your like the Dark Ether Reaper ones with the basically there was a really cool Warlock rotation that you could do in Revenant that did a lot of damage. And even that was not enough for the Witness in that season. And then in Heresy, there was a glimmer of hope with the artifact perks that we were given. Mainly the one that increased damage of the Vault of Glass weapons. And
Yeah.
obviously
Oh, yeah.
the actual reintroduction of the Vault of Glass weapons in the
Yes.
first place. Namely Hezen Vengeance. And the introduction of Elemental Honing, the new damage perk. So obviously Hezen Vengeance was an absolute powerhouse rocket, and still is, by the way. And that, alongside a nerfed Still Hunt, still nerfed, was starting to look promising. It was actually me and my friend Dato who were just kind of testing some things. Back in the old numbers, you needed a certain amount of damage per phase, and it was around 8 million. And we were testing damage rotations, or it was mainly Dato, but I was kind of helping out,
Yep.
or sort of testing some other smaller things myself. He was hitting around 7.2, 7.6 or stuff like that, and we were thinking, it's just not enough, you know. And then we knew, like, Act 2, there's a mod coming out that like increases the damage of your Unravel slightly or something like that. And then we were like, so now we're hitting 8 mil rotations, maybe this is possible. Act 3 rolls around, you've got the mod which like does even more tick damage. I can't remember all the Heresy mods, but anyway,
Sure.
when the artifact was fully like available to us, it was actually possible. And I think the first person to do it was Bog again in Heresy. But then after that, I was just very keen to, have a crack myself. Because I knew it was possible. So I was like, okay, this is an opportunity. I should just do this. It's an excuse to stream. And let's go. Let's do it. Why not? It was kind of near the end of Heresy anyway, so I wasn't really... I'd cleared all of the video ideas that I wanted to do for YouTube. I felt justified in the fact that I was paying less attention to YouTube and paying a lot more attention to Twitch, just to see where things go, give it a try, because it was near the end of Heresy, or slightly before the start of Rite of the Nine, at least. So it was like that dry period after the Heresy story had finished, into Rite of the Nine. So yeah, just those 3 weeks were great. In terms of like how I did it, it was more just... I realized that I had set myself up for like such a monumental task that I really needed to temper my expectations, I suppose. But I'm not a person who gets like frustrated very easily. I do get frustrated, and I think there probably are several clips of me being frustrated with the Witness. But I think I have a tolerance for that. So for me, it's not very difficult to keep stabbing at something, even if it's beating my ass. I just did it like day over day. There were days where I literally streamed for like 12 hours and I didn't get it, but I was like, whatever, I'll get it the next day. And then I didn't, and then the next day, and then I didn't. But then finally I did get it. It was on a Thursday. I can't remember the exact date. Might have been the 24th, maybe it was the 23rd. I can't remember if I uploaded it the same day or not, but no, it was awesome. And that was my first sort of foray into streaming. It was just I had obviously found people like yourself who are interested in watching and following the journey. I want to say that people were invested in the journey. They wanted to see me win. And I think that's, part of the reason why those challenges are somewhat popular in the first place, especially ones that are very difficult. And the way that I was doing it was I wanted to do it without using the ambition orbs, which is what people would use.
No Mickey orbs.
No, the Mickey orbs. So I didn't want to use those. I guess it's a little bit stubborn. All things considered, the Witness encounter solo isn't the greatest solo in the game. There is a lot of silly things that can happen, like chieftains blocking your shots, making you blow yourself up, or making your Still Hunt hit them and not the Witness, so you lose out on like hundreds of thousands of damage in the old numbers. So there was a lot of BS going on in that encounter that I had to put up with, and people saw that and were like, screw this. I'm just going to, use the Mickey orbs and get my clear, and I'm done. But I wanted to go the whole way as a test, and it worked out. It was great, and it was just the traction that I got from the stream. I decided to carry on through into Rite of the Nine, started doing like helps for the dungeons, which was quite fun. Found really good builds for that and really efficient strategies for helping people. Most days I was taking people, just me and 2 others, and we were managing pretty well, doing lots of helps. It was good, and that's kind of where the streaming stuff went on. And I can get into where things maybe really started to pick up, which was Edge of Fate. But
yeah, the viewer side of things, like watching the journey, was awesome. Just because I don't know, I don't mean this to sound bad, but it felt like an average player, and you're way more than average. But it felt, like sometimes you see these videos, like Spite puts up his stuff and Stazzy puts up his stuff, and it's like, okay, well, yeah, like at this point, like it is super cool what you just did, but like you have set such a precedent in and of yourself that you can do this, that it almost like, it's like, yeah, of course he did it. And it's like, or Esoteric, his videos going up, and it's like, of course he soloed this thing that should probably not be even dual destiny or something, things like that with 2 different controllers or whatever. I think the fact that you allowed us to have a view behind the scenes where we would hear Dato come in and you guys would talk about something, or someone would come into chat and you would interact with it and you say, yeah, does that work? Those little tweakings, I think that's what, for me at least, I'll speak for myself, that is what kind of drew me to the process, and why you say like we're invested in it, because we were like, okay, does this tweak matter? Does this actually, does this one little thing? So that was that was very interesting from that standpoint. Let me ask, so you said you started in Lightfall. Yep. You had that transition obviously from Lightfall into Final Shape. You were creating through that. At that point when Final Shape came out, had you dedicated, you were doing this full time at that point?
Yes. Okay. I decided, so September of 23 was when I did drop out of university, and I decided to take it full time. I did do like some like odd work for small jobs here and there in the meantime, but the YouTube was always the main focus.
Gotcha.
Since that time.
So going from there, because I find this really intriguing, because the first time where I was doing this, where it was my full attention, was into the Edge of Fate, right? So that same time period. So for me, my journey, I was like around like 2K, and position that I was working in, I had an opportunity to keep going or make this shift. It made sense for my family for me to make the shift, and I'm super thrilled that I did. And so I've seen that growth there. What did that growth look like? And then I want to go into the Edge of Fate for you. Like, how much more prepared were you for another big expansion release? Or like, are you, I guess I'm just mostly interested in like that preparation process. Talking with Aegis, I was talking with him a couple weeks ago. Like, what's his process for damage testing? How has he refined it? Is he still, I'm super interested to hear what your process was and how that changed over time.
Yeah. So for the Final Shape, I was definitely less prepared than I was for the Edge of Fate. It just gets better over time, I think. I think the most prepared I've been for a DLC has been Renegades, to be honest. But Edge of Fate was also pretty good. In terms of what I do to prepare, it's all just like I study the articles that we get given beforehand quite religiously. I write documents that summarize patch notes, and I have those open on like one monitor, and then I have just a blank page on the other where I'm like, can I turn this into a video idea? Is there something interesting to explore here? And I just sit there for like a day trying to write down as many like ideas as I can based on the information that we know is coming. And trailer stuff and whatever. It's all just basically me taking a bunch of time, perhaps on the weekend beforehand, which is what I did for Renegades, to just really digest everything. Quad helps with that, obviously, and make a plan. Essentially, I write it down. I write down everything. I write down like exactly what I'm doing on each day. I keep my calendar updated. So I know exactly what I'm doing every hour of the day. And obviously, Court helps with that as well. Reminds me to do certain things, which is lovely. I just like to be very
because there's so much up here. There's so many things. There's so many good ways for creators or for YouTubers or streamers and anyone to like put their time to, right? It's like, okay, oh, I need to make a short about that, or oh, I want to clip that moment. Those types of things where it's like, you know, if you don't do exactly what you said, where you like you're writing down and you dial it in and remember, it can be very difficult and overwhelming for that. So that is nice. He talked a little bit about that, about kind of like keeping things focused in a little bit. So
yes, yeah, no, it's good. I love having Court. He's great. But you know, Edge of Fate I was very prepared for it. I was like very keen to do certain things at certain days, and I did manage to hit those marks, which was good. You know, see, Frezzy does probably a bunch of thumbnails in advance as well, so it saves him and me time, like have to do like less like thinking. Editor Basic, he's obviously great as well. He's available most of the time, and he's American, so it's actually better for me, because then if I had a British editor, for example, you know, the reset for us is 6 or 5 p.m. So if we're playing on launch day, I'm actually very envious of you Americans, because you get to start the DLC at the middle of the day, and you've got the whole time to play through without going into like demon hours. So I'll typically finish at like, I don't know, 3:30, for example. Maybe I'll upload, so take the super testing that I did for Renegades. I'll have that uploaded for me around 1 or 2 in the morning, or something like that. But for Basic, that's, you know, like evening time, which is nice if he's like East Coast or whatever. So at least 5 hours difference, which is nice. So it's good from that perspective. Not really taking too great advantage of that, which is cool.
That's awesome. Just having I think that's one key, and that's something that I was looking at as well. Just, you know, kind of figuring out what's coming out and just prepping ahead of time for, hey, I want to hit this. You know, these are the notes I need to hit. And again, it goes back to my question earlier where we talked about like what your audience is, like what is the information you're trying to get out of there. I want to talk a little bit about some of these previews that come out ahead of time. So guys, if you don't know what I'm talking about, these last few expansions, I don't remember if they did it for the Edge of Fate, or I'm sorry, for Final Shape, but I know they did it for the Edge of Fate with all the changes that were coming, and then for Renegades as well. Bungie brought out some creators, had them come basically do a capture event, just play the game, experience it. It's not a summit. It's not something where they're looking for feedback and they may casually in conversation, but the conversation is more, or the point of it is to capture footage so they can create videos, which is essentially a marketing thing for Bungie. I'm sure that's probably what that looks into. The Edge of Fate, I felt like that made sense, right? We had so many overhauls. We had, you know, Armor 3.0. We had the tier system. We had the portal. We had so much new. There was less of that with Renegades, but we saw way more. Way more. What are your thoughts on that, man? I have my own opinions, but I want to hear what your thoughts are on just like the fact that we saw so much from something that was not as drastic of a change.
Yeah, I mean, I think these capture events are pretty cool. They have, well, the first time I remember it was Final Shape. They did it for the Final Shape, because I remember watching like Astros and Fallout's videos, being like, I played the Final Shape, like this is what Prismatic does and stuff.
Sure.
But yeah, I guess the Renegades one definitely felt like a lot more hands-on than the other two. It was there's definitely like more detail that was went into. I think they're a very cool thing. And obviously it is great for like marketing the game, getting excitement going.
Sure.
You know, it helps me. You know, there's more things for me to study so that I know certain things ahead of time when I'm making videos. So like,
yeah.
Oh, that's happening here. I'll just be ready for that when I'm actually playing the DLC myself, or something like that. But yeah, the only place that I am a little bit like iffy about is like them showing the dungeon weapons.
Yeah.
Because obviously they're not out yet, and to me the like rad stuff is very sacred. I don't think they should really be using it for marketing, but you know, Bungie makes the rules. I guess they're all kind of like blasters anyway. It's not like, I mean, if you look at the dungeons from the past, dungeons typically have like 1 or 2 new weapon types. Not all the time, but sometimes they do. Or they'll have like unique roles for stuff that's not on other, like Warlord's Ruin had Innate Kindness, for example. Or Spire of the Watcher had the first ever double fire grenade launchers. what's the most recent? Sundered. Sundered had the subjugation origin trait, which is crazy for like the primaries. All of those weapons are so solid. At first glance, you look at the Sundered doctrine weapons, you're like, oh, it's just a hand cannon, it's just a scout rifle, it's just a shotgun. But then every single one of those guns has like a crazy roll. And the part that I'm getting to is that the element of discovery with those guns is that, like, yeah, when they're data mined, you can see the models and stuff, but you don't know what perks actually get.
Yeah.
When you actually see in game, oh my god, the shotgun gets redirection bait and switch. The scout rifle gets Firefly Vault Shot.
Yep.
The hand cannon gets like Frenzy Hatchling, and the origin trait is crazy. It gets explosive payload, so it's like a 3-perk weapon. That discovery part is really cool for rad content. And we know every perk that is on all of these dungeon guns that is coming. So there's no element of discovery anymore. For the dungeon scout rifle, it's arc. It's the first weapon that is going to come with jolting feedback and vault shot in separate columns, which is pretty cool. It's a very funny roll, maybe not terribly meta, but it's unique, and it is like attached to that dungeon philosophy of giving unique rolls, like I said before. And I think it just would have been nicer to find that out ourselves. But the way that I kind of rationalize it, I suppose, is that obviously the state of the game is not great right now. Despite Renegades being a win so far, the game itself is still not amazing. And I think Bungie are probably scrambling to generate as much hype as possible. And showing dungeon weapons is definitely a way to do that. Because it's like, oh, hey, look, you can get Vault Shot and jolting feedback on this scout rifle if you play the dungeon and you buy Renegades. So like maybe it's like an extra layer of marketing that they reluctantly decided to show off. I hope anyway. I hope it doesn't happen again. But ultimately it is their decision. But that's the only part that I was just a bit like, would rather have discovered that myself. But at the end of the day, it's whatever. In fact, it's, I guess with knowing the perks, it's kind of nice because when a dungeon weekend happens, you rely on the community to collect the perks that they have seen on the rolls. You actually know because they're classified in the API. Which again, I guess is a bit charming. The community coming together to find the perks on guns. But still, I'd just say like I'd prefer if that wasn't the case in the future, just for the dungeon weapons. Show everything else, I don't care, but just the rad, leave it alone.
People were asking me like, hey, what's your hype level for Renegades coming in? They come on stream and ask. And I said, one thing I hope for the dungeon, I was hoping that it would fall. The contest can be as difficult as it wants to, like, whatever modifiers they need to feel like it's balanced. But whatever they feel like they need to do for the community to have a good experience, right? Like to let this be the day for in-game players. We've talked about that. A lot of creators have talked about that. Hey, we get like one portion of a day, right? Like it's not even a fully dedicated day anymore. It's just who can do it the fastest and then open it up for everyone. But I kind of hope that like once the dungeon's out, I think it would make sense. They've blown my expectations with the Lawless Frontier out of the water compared to what I thought it was going to be. I thought I'll be honest, I'll eat crow on this. I thought the invasion thing was dead in the water. I thought it was like, as soon as I heard what it was, it is one of the most fun things I've ever done in Destiny. I adore invading in the Lawless Frontier. It is so snappy. It's so exciting. I'm getting sidetracked. What I wanted for the dungeon is that I'm hoping that once contest removes, I was hoping that it might fall in difficulty somewhere between, say, like Sunder Doctrine and Warlord's Ruin. Is kind of what I was hoping it would do for an average thing. The reason I say that is I feel like because a lot of people in my audience are new and returning players, and I help a lot of people through raids, Desert Perpetual. I've not even touched Epic with my community.
So many people are like that.
So like I've done it myself, but I've not helped people in my community do it because it's so, like there's so much layered on, and I think it's fantastic. But I've not touched it with teaching and outstretched like that, just because I think they've pushed it they've pushed the normal experience a little too far on that for that level of player. And so what I'm hoping for is for this experience, I would love for it to settle on normal mode down just a little bit so that players feel like it's more achievable. They have a reason to keep grinding like we do. Like I love dungeons. I love going in. I know you like doing all the in-game stuff. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree. I've actually been talking about this with my chat as well. I want the contest of the dungeon to be hard, but when it comes to normal mode, I would like it to be very approachable, because I think Desert Perpetual was fine, but for your average group, this is original Desert Perpetual. Was still very difficult. In fact, it was probably maybe the most difficult for you, like your average LFG. Epoptes, genuinely one of the hardest LFG encounters they've ever made, I think. And the thing is that when Epic Desert Perpetual came out and went into LFG, God, I heard so many horror stories. Like it's a hard raid. Like even for myself, like which I guess is fine, but if I'm finding a raid difficult, not to toot my own horn or anything, but maybe that's a bit much. Like maybe should have toned, because there's so many things going on with those encounters in Epic Desert Perpetual, and especially if you stack on 5 feats. And I haven't even completed like the full 5 feet for the Epic version.
No,
and I don't know if I want to be honest, because like the Hobgoblin challenge on 5 feet, along with every change that has been made to that encounter for the Epic version, it's just a bit much. Like it gets to the point where it's actually one of the first rad experiences that I'm like, I'm good, you know. I'd rather just play the normal version. There's certain, obviously, I really enjoyed Epic Desert Perpetual. And the final encounter is amazing, especially when you understand it. That's great. Maybe they overcooked it a little bit with the others. I honestly think EDP is gonna like end up being probably just the forgotten raid out of all of the ones we have, because I don't think anybody plays it. It's just a bit too
which is sad, because I wonder what that's gonna. I wonder what Bungie's gonna take from that. You know what I mean? Like what part of that is the reason, right? Like, is it an external factor, as in player count dropping? Is it difficulty? So then we're going to receive things that are not as difficult. I don't know. It'll be really interesting to see what feedback, because believe it or not, Bungie is actually listening and trying to make positive and changes. Expansion after expansion, and take things back. Whether you believe that or not, that's fine. But they're going to take some sort of feedback. And so I would love to be a fly on the wall with the rad team and say, like, all right, we're doing our debrief on Epic Desert Perpetual.
Yes.
Let's have it, and just put everything out there and see what they would actually say.
Yeah, no, me too. Because I think definitely what Bungie strived for with the Desert Perpetual variants was mechanical difficulty over combat difficulty, like 1,000%. I think that's if you look at the design of every encounter, I don't think there's any parts in any of them where you're really in danger from the actual enemies you face. It's more just the mechanics. And obviously, if that's the case, when it translates off contest, which is mainly about combatant difficulty and like damage checks, it's still pretty tough, because the mechanics themselves don't change when the delta gets lowered. So I think that's probably one of the downfalls of EDP. Normal Desert Perpetual, I still think, is a fine raid. I think that is still like very approachable, with the only hard encounter, in my opinion, being Epoptes. I think that's definitely way better. I actually haven't ran one in quite some time. Maybe I should, but the normal mode is fine. Epic is great as a day one and to challenge myself and my team, but for the wider player base, it's a bit much.
Yeah, and it was pretty sad to see what the weapon rollout was. The weapon rollout for the raid as a whole was kind of lackluster. Antidate is my favorite weapon from there. I think a lot of people feel that same way, but we also got other like mini banger SMGs last season as well. So it's like, it's like, am I going to go through the effort of doing this, or am I going to use one of the 4 or 5 other SMGs that are in the game right now that I could just slot into my build and just not do this full arc thing? I don't know that the value was there.
With regards to weapons, I think the only one that I think really got people actually playing Desert Perpetual was the crossbow before they nerfed it. And that was like pre-nerf Temporal Blast. And then as soon as that was done, it's like, I could go for an Antidate if I want to do my super niche PK DPS, but like not many people will be doing that. And then like other weapons, I don't know, the GL is a bit disappointing. It has a lower mag size than other Rapids, which is a bit like the Sniper is technically like best in slot because it's like new gear. But it's like, you could just go and get yourself a Praedith. Vault of Glass is far more approachable than Epic Desert Perpetual. And yeah, I don't know. I've never even shot the shotgun, so I don't even know what that's about.
Yeah. Having avoid support auto is cool. Like there's some cool things there as well. So it's not that they're bad. It's just they're not inspiring. They're not the things that would get us in. That's something that I feel like when they brought King's Fall back, that was something like you're just healing. Like there were so many individual weapons when King's Fall released in D2. Is like, okay, like I want Zally's and I want the Scout Rifle. Obviously, Touch of Malice was a big hole there too. The early conversation on Whirling Ovation was interesting as well. Like not knowing what this was and then seeing that come out and it be used and previewed and then immediately stored away. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, like, I don't know, was it the catalyst that kind of like,
no. I fully wrote it off. Yeah. I thought it was rubbish. It came out of hiding, with like Warlock rotations. Cause people found that the perk could be charged if you like did more damage with your other guns, like if you had like buffs and debuffs and stuff going on, and it actually ended up being pretty decent, which was a total surprise to me. But yeah, because I wrote it off as terrible when I first got it. So
I also think that you initially tested it after you finished, right? Like your contest
mode.
So
I did.
Weren't you like probably super exhausted?
Yes, I was. Maybe not the best judgment, but I don't know. I think it's fun to do because being the first people to actually have that exotic is always fun, just to give it a spin.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. I hope that the dungeon equilibrium has like more approachability than EDP for sure.
That's kind of where I'm at. So let's talk real quick. So we're 1 week into Renegades launch. So let's take a little bit of time to talk the state of things. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts, man? Where are you sitting at? How are you feeling day after day, waking up and like, hey, I have to make content about this game, or I get to. Where are you sitting at right now?
No, I think it's awesome. I think it's much better than Edge of Fate. I've been like literally the other night I was playing Lawless Frontier until like 3 a.m, not even for getting clips or anything. I was just like chilling in a VC with my friends, just chatting about God knows what, and I was just playing. Like I'd never. Awesome. It's been a while. It's been a really, really, really long time since I have just wanted to play Destiny off stream, just because I want to play it. There's it's been such a long time. Yeah, there's times where I'm like, oh, I need to hop on because like main retrograde is on Heffen, for example.
Sure.
But it's never like I want to play this game right now because I'm going to have fun and enjoy myself. And that is a feeling that I have finally found again with Renegades, which is brilliant. So they have definitely done something right. Like you said earlier, I love the activity. I tweeted about it when I felt this exact way. I was like, I'm passion tweeting right now. I'm writing about this. I need to capture this moment because it was true. Like I'm really enjoying it. I love the lightsaber grind. I love that they have introduced such a grind where you can interact with the main seasonal activity, I suppose.
Sure.
And it's like the cosmetic chase, so all of the crystals, and at the same time I'm hitting my contracts, I'm leveling up my syndicates, and I'm able to get a shiny version of this gun, which actually, funnily enough, one of the points I stated in the Portal video is they should add guns that have like unique origin traits or like unique perks from certain places that are rare, and I'm very happy to see that in the game. And or at least to a certain degree, like this. Plus, it helps that Accelerated Assault is a very good origin trait for blaster weapons. Yes. So I'm very excited to get these. The next step would be to give these guns perhaps a unique skin, or maybe like a perk in a column that they couldn't get normally. But it's a great start. The loot feels awesome. The blasters are honestly like a new tier of weapon to me. They are not just legendaries. They are like something in between legendary and exotic. Despite being legendaries, they just feel different. Like you got the perfect vents on the balanced heat weapons. You've got the dynamic limiter on the dynamic heat weapons, which lets them deal shoot far more, and like they feel awesome to use. They've got great perks. New perks are good. I haven't messed a lot with the exotic machine gun, but it is pretty fun. Like a support frame machine gun, like that's a great idea. It's very creative. It is. And I'm sure the crossbow is going to be quite fun as well. But no, I'm having a great time with Renegades. If I recall where I was at this point during the Edge of Fate, it was very much a feeling of what do I do now? Do I just like play the Portal? Do I play Encore with my friends? That's it. I guess there's like the Epic Raid to prepare for now that Desert Perpetual's done. But yeah, it was just a very different feeling. Like every time that I hop on and stream, there's always something to do. I need to finish the campaign on my hunter. I need to get my magenta crystal. I need to get my cyan crystal. 5 exotic contracts, by the way, and I still don't have it, which is bloody ridiculous.
I did my first one last night. I did not
yeah,
get it either. So.
Yes. So there's just so much more to do still, and I think, well, it also just helps that Renegades actually does have a decent post-campaign activity, whereas Edge of Fate literally just had Civ and the Portal.
Yeah.
So, or I guess you can count the weekly like story mission replays, but they're not quite the same as like a fleshed out activity. I guess Edge of Fate had the like unfortunate side effect of also coming alongside all of the major changes that happened to the game underneath, like the stat system, the armor system, tiers, so on and so on. So I guess probably that's where a lot of those resources went. And I hope that Renegades is like a starting step into like expansions of this size being more substantial with regards to content that you are able to play after you get past like the first 5 hours of it, and there's like a grind to engage with. But yeah, honestly, one of the biggest things that I love about Renegade so far is the activity and the lightsaber, just because there's so much to do with it. Like a single gun has spawned hours of content, a single weapon has spawned hours of content for me, because I want the crystals, I want the cores, I want the blades. I need to level up the syndicates to get like the blade perks. I'm also feeling incredibly motivated to spend my money on Eververse because the blades look really cool, and I don't actually feel bad about it at all. So they're doing something right.
Yeah, I notoriously in my chat, and I feel like I balanced it out because I ended up buying stuff later in the season. But notoriously, I used silver that was granted by Bungie to buy to bypass the Edge of Fate campaign on my other characters for the Edge of Fate. But I did buy with my own money, probably the equivalent of silver for stuff later on the season. So Bungie, don't be too mad. But it was one of these things where I could not be bothered to go back in on these other characters, and I wanted to, for the short turnaround, be ready for day one and have the availability on all my characters. I don't feel that way at all with Renegades. The only problem with Renegades, and this is something notoriously, I took a little side quest for a few months into Destiny Rising content and making stuff over there. I wish that they would take the approach that Destiny Rising has for repeating legendary campaign missions, which is just they're instantly selectable and then all the fluff is gone. It literally is just there's a portal at the end of this portion and you get pulled forward and you're in this part of the mission and you just continue like the action-packed combat, any of the encounters. I think if they could do some sort of refining like that instead of being a thing where, okay, I have to go talk to 14 vendors before I go do another Lawless Frontier activity to come back to the thing to do 14 more. It's like, I think on repeat plays, we should be able to. Yes, I'm sure the tech there might not be there, but I wish that it was.
There's a lot of, that's one of the things that I actually do think was maybe not amazing about the Renegades campaign was the amount of vendors that you go and talk to. I can't remember who it was I was speaking with, said that the Renegades campaign is kind of like a full episodic campaign, if you think about it, with added like extra missions. It's in the sense of like you log in this week, you talk to a drifter, and you go to the Dreadnought, and then you bring back a sample for Eris, and you talk to her. And
honestly, that's a really good way to put it.
Yeah. So it's like a episodic format with regards to like the amount of people you're talking to, but you have sprinkled in some actual good story missions as well. Yeah. So it's like still above that, but in a similar fashion.
Yeah, I wish it was Act 1 of 3. I wish we were back. I wish it was, man. I wish it was. And I'm hoping that the dungeon turns into a little bit of that as well.
I do think that with like what we've had with dungeons in the past, where like it seems like since Vesper, there have been evolutions like substantial catalyst quests. There's also been focusing systems added to the dungeons where like with Vesper you could enter a code and in that chest room you get whatever, and with Sundered if you enter the code at the beginning and you interacted with a certain symbol, I think it'd be saved on your entire account like until you decided to change it, so you just get all you had to do is enter the symbol at the beginning and then finish the run and you get a bonus drop at the end. So I'm sure there's going to be those same systems in place once again, which would be great for the replayability and just farming stuff. I hope that like the catalyst quest for the dungeon is good. But I also know that in Shadow and Order that the dungeon is going to be, or is going to have its weapon set expanded.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think so anyway. That's what they said. They said that in like the second. They said that in the second major update of the year, the dungeon from the second expansion would get updated in some way. With regards to a new encounter, I don't think so because it's not a raid, but I think it's just like a loot refresh. Because you know how with EDP, we did get 3 new raid guns, even though they were like data mined beforehand. It was an expansion of the content, so I think they'll probably be doing the same thing. So the dungeon won't be like done when it comes out here this week. No, I'm confident in the dungeon.
Yeah. I guess what I meant more my hopes for the dungeon is more that it would be a continuation of the story that felt fitting, felt like a, hey, if you enjoy the campaign, do that. And I think from the teaser, right, like the teaser trailer that they put out, hearing Bale's voice over it, talking to Six the whole time, now we have context for what's happening. And then also, I'm not a lore guy, and this isn't a lore podcast, but like some of the weird Taken-ish stuff, like I don't even understand why the Taken is in, like why that is what Fire and Ice has been like such an integral part. I won't talk beyond that, but like what, you know, I don't even at this point understand it. Every time I bring it up on chat, someone fires out something, I'm like, all right, I'm sure you're I'll find out when it pops up in a cutscene, something like that.
There is definitely something going on with the Taken story-wise. I'm not a lore guy either, but I can definitely I've been told.
I do. So this will be a good segue. The Taken are also kicking my ass in the portal right now, because a lot of the content on my channel is about exotic missions, exotic mission rewards. So Choir of One, I'm like one of the Choir of One stan on like #1 source. I have so many videos on my channel because they broke it. It came out obviously in Echoes, and then when they crashed the helm in Revenant, there were tie-in quests that had to be started from Revenant so that you could go back and have access to the helm, and that failsafe was there, all this stuff. It was a mess. And so that's actually one of the first things on my channel that started catching, was when I had enough people asking me. It was like, I think I put out an exotic video. I started singing the praises of Choir 1 in that video. Had a lot of comments saying, hey, I can't get it now. Like, I'm a returning player. I'm coming back for Heresy, and I can't get it doing that. So that's kind of what I've kind of like carved out, and now I have multiple videos going through. There was a mess last season where you could not get Vexcalibur or Dead Man's Tale from the portal. You actually had to wait for the rotator to come back and get that. Brilliant. And it was a mess. Now supposedly they fixed it. So that was my experience of what you were talking about, writing down, hey, what am I doing day one? I spent the first 4 hours of Renegades in the portal trying to do Derealize to get Barodiad, and it's broken. You can't even get it for newer returning players. You cannot get Barodiad right now. And
classic.
I knew it was going to be. And so I've had some shorts that I put out that have been like, because people are searching for it like crazy, and I want to defend them. I want to say, hey, Bungie's trying, they're working, but like I know stuff's gonna be broken every time they push something out in the game.
It's something with. It is always exotic missions. There is something with how they build exotic missions that is like fundamentally wrong. It's like with Heliostat, where somebody broke the crystal and got their intrinsics, but the other team can't anymore, and they have to come in and do it again. It's like that issue has happened in Derealize. It happened in what was the one before that?
It happened in Sundered Doctrine. For the pages on the table. I know it's not an exotic mission, but it's the exotic
similar
quest,
issues,
right?
Yeah, so I don't know. I feel like exotic missions are cursed. Thankfully, Fire and Ice doesn't have that. At least I don't think.
No.
But maybe
the only bugs I've seen with Fire and Ice are actually user error. That's what I've seen in my Discord. People coming in and say, "Oh, I can't do this because of this." And if we run in, and that's what I found also with things like Encore, Slayer's Fang, you could not get the intrinsics until Tuesday. Because they were tied to shooting the little lanterns in there with the Slayer's Fang actual shotgun. You could not, because those did not exist anymore in the mission. I went through and I tried to do the organ puzzle, put everything in, find there were no secret enemies, anything of that sort. So I say all that to say, I went in on Tuesday and I spent like 3.5, 4 hours trying to go through the portal, figure out what was available. That's when I figured out that the intrinsics for Slayer's Fang are dropping. Barodiad is not dropping. But dude, those Taken, the dire Taken that they've added now in the Sunless Cell and Derealize in the portal, they are no joke.
No.
Dude, they will run you over. And I think it's interesting, man. I want to use that though as a segue to talk a little bit more about the portal and the leveling. So the lack of leveling in Renegades. I was worried about it on the long time. Like when they came out, I thought they said it prematurely. when they backed off and they said no more level increase, like whatever you do in Edge of Fate is not going up with Renegades. I actually don't feel that way anymore, and I was wondering what your thoughts were before Renegades when it came to leveling, and then where are you at now with it?
Yeah, well, the leveling experience in Edge of Fate was terrible. Let's just
Yes.
say that, make that clear. I did the 400 to 450 grind, and it was awful. So thankfully they changed it a little bit for Ash and Iron, and then they changed it again and again. I think now it's actually bearable. It's fine,
Yes.
especially with the bonus engram change. But yeah, as soon as I saw the change that they were going to like not make any like not decrease your power in Renegades, my initial impression was like, thank God. But then I immediately thought, are we going to have enough things to do?
Yeah.
And I have not encountered that sort of level of like, what do I do now type feeling yet. It's only, we're going into week 2 of Renegades now, so there's still plenty to do. And, you know, like me or you, we're naturally going to progress through the content faster than your average player, just because of the nature of what we do. So I'm going to run out of things to do faster than most people. But I still haven't after 1 week, which is a pretty good sign.
Yeah.
And I think it's probably going to carry through most of December. I think January is probably when we're going to start to see people having maxed out all of their syndicates. They've got all of their crystals. They've done all the triumphs. You know, they're happy with their new builds. They've done their solo flawless dungeon. They've got their catalyst for heirloom. They're all finished by the end of the month, which I think, you know, that's fine. Content doesn't last forever. But I think there probably will come a point in Renegades where we are back to the place where we're like, what we do now. But I suppose that's maybe what events are going to help with. New events. I guess that was Bungie's solution. And I do like the events that Bungie have been running recently. That's a separate topic, I suppose. But
well, it's all about the player experience, right? So it sort of is, like, I understand it's not tied to the portal directly, but it is tied to player retention. It's tied to how do you keep players not just doing busy work. That's I think that everyone kind of had their bout of putting out their come to Jesus videos when it came to there was a really low moment there where a lot of us were like, okay, this is not good. And my version of that I put out was like, the problem with Destiny right now is it just feels like a job. Like, it should feel like a job for me because it's what I'm focused on primarily. It's what I'm trying to do. But I don't, for the average player who's getting off work and they come in and they're like, what? I missed this one thing. A lot of the decisions they were making. You yourself in Court and your guys' team, like, you know, I know a lot of the stuff was your vision. He talked a lot about the creation, like the actual asset creation stuff. So I don't really want to talk about that, but you cast a vision and you guys created a video all talking about breakdown ideas of what could come from the portal. I want to talk about that video, but I also want to talk like holistically about just your concept of advocating publicly for the community, like this kind of thing. Where does that come from? How do you feel like where you want to like plant your stake in the ground? You're like, hey, this is actually something we should talk about, or it's, you know, this matters a little bit there and there. How do you make those priorities and stuff? Because those videos reach a lot of people, man.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess it ultimately comes from a place of passion, I suppose. I don't want Destiny to die. I would like it to carry on for as long as it can and to thrive. And I don't know what's the word. Fruitless as it may be, I wanted to try and create a little piece of positivity and constructive feedback at the same time. So I thought that with I shied away from doing opinion pieces in the past because I didn't think that I was large enough or nobody would care, but I finally felt confident recently with where I am, to the point where I could make something, but I knew that I had to make it good. So I decided to leverage Court. It was just kind of like an initial idea. I had somebody in the stream. I was always talking about... So I was grinding from 500 to 550 via Reclaim, which was still very slow. It was the +1s rather than the +2s.
Gotcha.
So I was still getting guaranteed drops every run. But anyway, it's what I did for like 2 weeks straight. And there's not much to do other than just yap, because the activity itself is pretty mindless. So I would just talk with my stream quite a lot about what we didn't like about the portal, how much we disliked Ash and Iron, relatable things, so on and so on. And there were loads of ideas that chat was coming up with and that I was bouncing towards them, and that I thought, maybe I can turn this into some sort of video. And I thought about it more and more, and I was like, I'm working with Court now. He's an excellent graphic designer. I have an idea of what I want to see in the portal. Why don't we sort of put this on pen and paper? And it just ended up spiraling into my proudest video that I ever put out, genuinely. And it was a really great project to work on. I felt like I was directing a movie. It was really cool. Just like everything down from like where to each edit, where this piece of music should be placed, so on and so on. Getting Court to make like 70+ graphics. In terms of like motivation to do it, I guess going back to your original question, it really is just me wanting the game to improve. Like I want it to succeed. I want it to do well, because when Destiny does well, it is like one of the best games you can play. I don't know, maybe I'm just very biased because I am just a Destiny player through and through, but when Destiny is good, it hits. It's like the first 2 weeks of Final Shape were amazing. There was so much cool stuff to do, like Prismatic Dual Destiny, the raid, music, character, stories, resolutions, everything. Even like the Witch Screen was fantastic with the campaign innovations. Even Renegades has got like a really cool activity attached to it that's like it feels good to play. So when Destiny feels good, it feels good for me, and I just want to make sure that happens as often as possible. And being somebody who can reach a part of the community now and capture people's opinions, I just felt like it would be the perfect video to make.
Yeah. What did you receive from that? Did you receive a lot of positivity from that? Was it more middling than you thought, or how did you receive that?
It was overwhelming. Yeah, it was a very overwhelming amount of positivity. There was obviously some odd comments about people being like, just delete the portal, I don't want it, get rid of it.
Yeah.
But sorry guys, it's staying in the game, it's not going anywhere, so we have to make do. But no, the reception was amazing. Like the most amount of comments I've ever had on a single YouTube video, like crazy talk about it on Twitter and things like that. So it was awesome to see people really looking at it and being. I must have seen maybe over 50 comments being like, you should work for Bungie.
Yeah.
They need to hire you in Court, stuff like that. So it was great.
Yeah. The goal of it was to create a dialogue around constructive criticism, because like you just said, it's not constructive at all to just be like, oh, just delete it, just get it. That's not how this works. There are teams and there are thousands of man hours that have gone into this system. I've said many times, if Sony gives Bungie the runway they need, we will look back and we'll say the Edge of Fate was a foundation. It was, at the time, it was rough being there, right? Yes. Especially early on. But they formed this foundation. Renegades, I believe, is the first step off of that foundation to where we're heading. We'll see how it performs week over week as we go, like you had mentioned earlier. I do think that there's a chance we look back at the Edge of Fate with a little more kindly in the future, where we say, you know what, they cooked with Armor 3.0. They cooked with the tier system. Now that it's refined. I spent last night, I was starting streaming. We were waiting on one of our teammates to hop on, so I pulled some community members in, and we did arena ops last night because the ARC pulse rifle was in there.
Yes,
dude, that was some of the most fun I'd had in a long time, man. Going in at 550 difficulty to do Nightmare Hunt with people who never got a chance to do it, like that's awesome. Like they're working on bringing stuff back. Catch Crash still isn't that great. Is what it is. But like Nightmare Hunt was really fun. Astral Alignment was really fun. I was getting demolished by scoring all over the place. Whatever. It's fun to do that. But the leveling in the whole point of the portal has shifted. Like you said, you were doing Reclaim. Yeah, Reclaim. That Siva should have red in it. We've talked about that on other things. I wish it was more saturated, but it's not. However, once you get in there and you get to the end of an activity and you see a chest pop up with 4 bright pink engrams come out, and you're like, I'm about to walk across those and I'm going to get tier 5 explosion. Like that feels good in any game. So for sure it feels good in Destiny that has this sandbox that we love playing with. I think the sandbox is in one of the best places it's ever been.
100%, yeah.
Just across the board. And so, but doing something with more and more people having these arena ops come in here as they put more things back in. And you always hear the conversations of like the doomers come in with, well, they shouldn't have taken them away in the first place. Man, if they stayed in the game, they'd be exactly what they were before. They're coming back and they're getting refinements. How do you deal with the negativity and the doomer comments that come in there and do that? Do you just completely ignore? Like, are you blinders on there, and do they still get under your skin as much as they get under mine?
I don't know. I think just like hating on anything is like a waste of time. So
Yeah.
I don't envy these people.
Sure.
I just kind of like I look at the comment that somebody might write in my Twitch feed, and somebody would come in and be like, why are you still playing this shit game? It's so dead. And I don't know, I maybe just like read it in my head instead of not read it out loud. But like by the time that I'm like maybe willing to write a response to it or something, court's already banned that guy, so it's like it's already like off my radar, so I don't really care. It's just dealing with those people. They have nothing better to do than to hate on a game. So like I don't know how do you say it? Like it's just I'm not interested in entertaining anything they have to say. It's
Sure.
just like they're flawed themselves, so whatever. Just I know that there's better things to do than put your energy towards that. I guess there is valid criticism with certain things, especially of like the portal.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, keeping it constructive is my mindset.
Yeah, I think the stuff that gets me at this point is just the stuff that is like there's no thought that went into this, and I need to work on taking your stance on it. Is like, hey, realize what you just said, that there's no thought in what they just put. They just put something out there, literally rage baiting, and you're falling into it.
Yeah.
But I've done better turning away from that, or just like answering, or sometimes I'll just hit them with an emoji, just like whatever, and just be like, hey, the more you talk back and forth, it's the more engagement we're getting on the video. So like I can just feel like, LOL.
Exactly. They're attempting to get like a reaction out of you, but they're also just helping you out because they're giving you engagement on your video. Like
exactly.
It just goes back to that at the end of the day. Like it just helps you out in the long run. So.
Yeah. Real quick, I want to talk about this. So your channel is 100% focused on Destiny 2. And you said that that's basically the only game you play. And I fall in a very similar place. I had a lot of fun with Arc Raiders. I have fun taking little side quests, but it has more to do with the friends I play with than the game I'm playing. And so I don't know if you resonate with that, but what's that look like? You're riding this live service roller coaster. Have you considered what that looks like in the long term, for your channel?
Sometimes, I guess I'm more just like hoping that Destiny can carry on, and
sure.
I'm very much just like down with the ship type of attitude. Like if if Shattered Cycle is terrible and it really is the nail in the coffin for the game, then I will go down with it and I will find something else to do afterwards. I'm not really planning anything else in the background, like as a contingency, just in case Destiny, falls off a cliff. I played Arc Raiders as well. I thought it was a pretty fun game.
Yeah.
But it's not Destiny, so I'm not going to want to make content on it. I don't feel qualified to make content on it either. And that's the trouble. I think Destiny is the only thing that I'm qualified, or I feel qualified to educate people on. And anything else, perhaps not. And if I wanted to be in that position for a different game, I'd need to be there from the very start. So I didn't play Arc Raiders at launch. I bought it like 3.5 weeks later, and by that point everybody knew the loot routes and what guns were good, like how to take down the Ark in a certain way, what guns are best PvP. So that's all been taken. I was never interested in making content for Arc Raiders anyway, but it's just I'm just making a point, have to be in there at the start. I don't know. I'm pretty good at Destiny. I know it pretty well. I literally, I bet you like half of my fucking brain tissue is Destiny knowledge. So
I've said that so many times when people come in and they're like, "Why are you still playing this game?" It's like, brother, this is like 50% of my knowledge. Can you at least just let me have this?
Yes. So. I go back to it. I'm very much just down with the ship, or up with the ship if it goes well. So ride or die, I suppose you could say.
Yeah. Do we need a D3?
Oh, big question.
Big question package succinctly.
So I have talked about this a lot on stream. I think there have been opportunities in the past for a really good segue into an announcement for a Destiny 3. One such case being the final shape. I think when it was around like 2 weeks after everything had wrapped up with the final shape, Excision was out, Dual Destiny was farmable, so on and so on. People were, getting on with that. Bungie said like, "Oh, we're announcing the future of Destiny." And like I was so excited to tune into the stream because I was like, "Oh my god, what are we getting this next year? What is the game turning into?" Episodes. Like you're still getting seasons, and like I was more wanting like what's happening after that. So that would have been a perfect opportunity to announce Destiny 3. Overall, I'm more of a Destiny advocate, not the 2, just Destiny. No 2, no number attached to it, just one solid experience. If I had my way, I would make Destiny a forever game where they dropped the 2 and they just developed it as like one massive game, like World of Warcraft, for example. I don't know if that's really like a valid comparison, but I know WoW's been going on for at least 20 years, and I don't know if you can still play all of the original content, but they do have a classic game. I know that. And obviously there was rumors about that recently with Destiny, and obviously the leaked Destiny 3 rumors. If that's true, I don't know if Bungie working on a Destiny 3 now is the best move, but it's definitely, I want to say it's a good move with regards to like reinvigorating the franchise from the perspective of getting new people to try it once again, because I think that is something that they can't do as well these days. The previous story is essentially over. A lot of people checked out after Final Shape, and not so many were interested to come back for this new saga. And I think the people that are still playing Destiny now are very much the dedicated fans. I feel like there's less people actually being attracted to the game from a perspective of wanting to pick it up and start, and partly because it's almost a 9-year-old game. And a new title would definitely help with that. I don't know if it's possible to have it so we can have Destiny 2 become just Destiny and continue being updated without the need for a sequel, and still manage to find a way to get the same amount of new attention that a sequel would. I don't know if that's possible. Me personally, I'm definitely more biased to just staying in the same game, because there's so much stuff like underneath all of the problems with the portal and all that. Destiny 2 is a very good game. It's like, it's got, for somebody coming in, yes, the new player experience is terrible, but in terms of content, you have like 10 raids, 10 dungeons, you have so many campaigns, you got really well fleshed out systems. Like you said, the sandbox is an amazing spot. There are so many so many viable builds for so many different playstyles. You can play the game in such a variety of cool ways. Compare where we are now to the launch of Destiny 2. It's like there's two entirely separate games. There was nothing to do in that. There was no there was like extremely limited customization, extremely limited movement, like janky gameplay, and there was only one raid, no dungeons, a few strikes. A sequel would have the problem of that, I think, where it would have not as much stuff to do, and we'd run into issues like we had with previous expansions, where you'd get through all of the content in like the first month, and then after that you're like, well, what do I do now? But the thing is, like, the counterpoint to that I've seen is that like a Destiny 3 could be like an entirely separate game. It could be not like Destiny 2 at all. It could be like, maybe they get rid of the Titan Hunter and Warlock class system. Maybe you just have like, maybe it becomes character based, or maybe you have just one character you can customize in a variety of different ways. Perhaps the genre of the game shifts slightly. Perhaps it becomes, it's one thing I've been thinking of recently. What if Bungie coined this term invasion shooter? We've been loving invasions recently, haven't we? So what if they made Destiny 3 the same Destiny gameplay that we're used to, but you've got invasions happening everywhere? It's like a sort of hybrid between an extraction shooter and a looter shooter, where there's majority looter shooter, but there's a little bit of PvP element. I don't know. I might just be talking out my ass, but the D3
that's all this is.
Works.
That's all this channel is anyway.
the D3 might just be something completely different to what it used to, because I think I don't know. I guess for a long while I always thought of Destiny 3 as more Destiny, whereas it could be not just more Destiny, but just something new entirely.
Like different Destiny.
Yeah, with different Destiny, just has the name attached to it, for example.
Yeah.
So perhaps it become an extraction shooter. Perhaps it become a battle royale. Not that it should,
Sure.
but something completely different. But yeah, I guess bottom line, I would like the game to stay as is because I think it is ultimately very good, and I like this game a lot. I have put like 8,000 hours on PC and 2,000 on console. So yes, it would be a bit of a shock for it to be something different, but I welcome the possibility of a sequel bringing in some much needed new attention to the game once again, because it's kind of desperately needs it. So
Yeah, I brought this up not to retread on like recent episodes, but I brought up I wish we would get like the Destiny Reach or Destiny ODST, where we go out of system, we would have a reset of abilities, right? Like we go back, okay, what can actually reach us here? Does the Traveler's Light reach here? If not, what does that actually look like? And how do we develop? So Toad, I think Toad and I were talking about it. He brought up, he's like, what if that's when we got like a kinetic subclass and we were actually like having to kind of do this thing? There's so much to the world, like so much potential to the world. The real issue, I don't think it has to do with the people at Bungie, what they actually want to do. Do they want it to survive? I'll see that all the time. It's like, they don't even care about the game. That doesn't even make sense. The conversation is, are they going to get the runway for it? And I'm hoping if Marathon can perform in some sort of viable way, then maybe there will be. I don't know. I've not played it. I have no concept on how this last playtest performed compared to the one before that, but I'm hoping that if they can kind of maybe even ride the tailwinds a little bit of what Arc Raiders has done and shown like, hey, there are people who enjoy this, and with the proximity chat, and you can create this community feeling of like, hey, we're doing this, we're together, more than like, hey, this is super hyper competitive when we get on this map. I don't know if they'll be able to do that or not, but we'll see. We'll see for sure.
We shall see. Perhaps in the new year we'll have some bombshell dropped on us in like a state of the game. Maybe there'll be like a Destiny 3 is happening, guys, or I don't know. We'll
have to breach it. So, all right, I got a couple of final light-hearted questions for you. Yep. What's your favorite exotic weapon in all of Destiny?
Including Destiny 1?
Yep, total.
Anything. I don't know. I would probably say I love the Kvostov. I love the from Destiny 2, the Destiny 2 one. So from Final Shape, that one I just fell in love with it. It just felt like such an awesome weapon to use, and it's not even terrible either. It's actually pretty good as far as exotic primaries go. I could take a look at my dim here. Let me see if there's anything like actually, no, I mean, I'm just a big Kvostov guy.
Yeah, and don't even worry about how recent it is, because Choir of One literally is my favorite exotic of all time.
Yes,
I love what it is. I love that we're able to be our own Vex chickens and just go through. Yes. I love the feeling of deleting Vex chickens with their own weapons. So I love it so much, dude.
Yes, no, I'd probably say Kvostov. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Final answer.
What is best class and why is it Titan, or why is it not Titan?
I will say that out of all my time playing Destiny, if I had to classify myself as having a main class, it would be Titan, actually.
Okay.
Because I did start playing with Titan.
Shout out to your friends all those years ago. Let's go.
Yes, they said we need a Titan, so I played Titan. And for all of Destiny when I was a Titan, barely played any. I think Hunter's my least played. Warlock, I'm definitely on the Warlock wave now, especially with how strong they are with Renegades. I'm very much somebody who just plays the meta. I quite enjoy it. Titan was meta in Edge of Fate, now Warlock is, so I'll play a lot of Warlock. But yeah, no, I guess I've always been a Titan at heart, I think.
That's awesome. All right, last thing, what's going on, and what do you got anything coming up you want people to know about? Be on the lookout for.
Nothing specific, but very much looking forward to the dungeon race on Saturday. As some of you may know, my team has had a pretty decent run with the two most recent contest experiences. We came 14th in DP and then 11th in EDP, so we're looking to improve ourselves even more, try and go for the belt in the dungeon. Despite it not being as prestigious as a raid, still going to be going very hard.
Those trophies they have are really cool.
They look cool.
They look really cool, dude.
So it'd be nice to have one of those I can hang out somewhere.
Yeah.
And so I guess that's the main thing. If you want to come support us, that would be really cool. Besides that, nothing major for 2026. Moving out of my bedroom finally, which is nice.
Hey, there you
Moving
go.
into a dedicated office, which is cool.
Nice.
So yeah.
That's exciting, man. Well, Llama, thank you very much, man. Appreciate your time for today. Guys, if you're still hanging out with us, thank you very much. I appreciate you for making it to the deep end of our conversation. I hope you enjoyed this. If you enjoyed this conversation, you'll probably enjoy the one I had with Court, the deep dive. We talked behind the scenes even more with what goes on with Llama and just their channel and that relationship there. I've sat down with Toast Smoothie, Aegis, all these guys, and really just kind of getting a holistic view on the Destiny community. So till next time, be blessed, y'all.